Alrighty. Well, thank you, John. And John, can you see the screen okay, the big blue Excel file?
I can. Jet Express agenda.
That's what should be there. Actually, it should say welcome, so let's put it on welcome to start. But
Okay, there's
so
the
hello
welcome.
everyone. What? You see it okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So hello everyone. Obviously welcome again. Thanks John for setting all this up. But my name's Anthony Bonaducci. I'm the West US Channel Manager here at Jet Reports. I want to thank you all in advance, obviously, for joining us today as we take a look at our free Jet Express product and specifically, how it can help you improve your reporting and alleviate some of the difficulties you're probably running into currently. Um, like John said, we have a good turnout today. So just type those questions in the box, and he'll let me know. That way we can stay a little more organized and on track. Um, Also, if you have any further questions, feel free to send an email when we're done. If we run out of time here to John or myself, and we can definitely give you some follow up. So as far as our agenda for today, we do have an exciting agenda prepared. We'll be looking at basically how to better use Jet Express to design reports from NAV 2009 and 2013. As a review of our agenda, we're going to start by introducing you to the Jet Express Resource Center and how you can actually run and refresh existing report templates from that Resource Center. After we've taken a look at that, I'll also cover the table builder, and we're going to build a report from multiple tables with the table builder. Next, we'll go into the general ledger function and write a report with the GL function, and specifically a consolidated income statement. And lastly, we'll spend a few minutes looking at some of the advanced reporting and BI available from Jet as well. Um, I can probably get us out of here a couple minutes early, but it just depends on questions. So, like I said, we'll plow through it, and then depending on how much questions we have, we can keep going. Um, I do want to take just a quick second or a minute to introduce Jet Reports as a company for those of you who may not be too familiar with us. We are the leading provider of reporting and BI solutions for the Microsoft Dynamics suite. We have over 77,000 users worldwide, and that's actually a little bit old, that statistic. I think it's almost over 80, if not over 80 at this point. And that spans across 50 different countries. So we're much more than just a US company. We're all over the world. We are a Microsoft strategic partner, and in fact, this product that I'm going to show you today, the Jet Express product, was developed in conjunction with Microsoft. They basically, really liked our Jet Essentials and Enterprise solutions, and kind of said, we want you to make a free kind of essentially a free version of your Essentials product that we can bundle with NAV implementations and other implementations. So that's what we did, and that's what we'll cover today. And lastly, one of the great parts about Jet is if you do, get on Express, or if you choose one of the paid products, there's tons of avenues for support and resources. We definitely don't want you to feel like you're left in the dust. I mean, there's anything from training with us all the way to, knowledge-based articles, to the user group forums where you can go on there and post questions. So you should never feel lost. You can always reach out to us and we can point you in the right direction. But since we have a lot to cover, let's go ahead and get started. So like I said, I kind of want to talk a little bit about the product, and then we'll take a look at it. But I want to start by talking about what Jet Express is, and then conversely what it is not. I think it's important to kind of clarify both sides. So Jet Express is an Excel add-in. It's intended for real-time reporting, so it is a real-time reporting tool. It's intended for Excel integrated financial reporting with NAV user level security. So this is kind of a cool piece. It is going to automatically honor your NAV user level security. It actually also honors simple cell by cell level design of financial statements, which we'll see in a bit using the general ledger function. So you'll see that it's actually the function itself is calculated on an individual cell basis within Excel, but we can exploit that with relative and absolute cell referencing. So it's actually going to work out in our favor. It also allows for ad hoc database queries from any table in your database. So, anything custom, anything you've added in, it's going to pick up and still allow you to report on. And we'll show that here today with the table builder. And then lastly, one of the big keys with Jet Express is that there's a ton of powerful usability, and there's really not a huge need for training. I'll show you here in a bit when we look at the resource center where you can go to kind of find the resources we have out there. But you really don't need much to get up and running with Jet Express. Now, conversely, as far as what it is not, it's not a full operational reporting tool. It's not intended for business intelligence or analytics, and it doesn't include reporting automation. So, our other products, you can actually schedule the running and distribution of the reports, so you don't even have to actually touch the report. That's not a feature you're going to see with Jet Express, just to clarify that. So what you should be seeing up here is this little ribbon on my screen, and that's the Jet Express ribbon. So that's what your ribbon would look like if you went and downloaded the product right now. My ribbon up here at the top, as you can see, has a lot more functionality. That's just because I have the advanced pieces, the Jet Essentials and Jet Enterprise products as well. But if you downloaded it for Jet Express, this is what your ribbon's going to look like. And today we're going to focus on the general ledger function and the table builder. So we'll get you a pretty well-rounded view of what the product is and what it can do. Just to check real quick, John, are you hearing me okay?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. I had the horror story where it cut out in the middle and I was chugging along about 15 minutes in. So
Well,
I,
I'll definitely let you know.
I always like to check. So that's good news. Okay. Well, great. So let's go ahead and move forward. The first thing I want to show you is the Jet Express Resource Center. So if you haven't been here, this is definitely where you're going to want to go. Anything Jet Express is going to live and breathe here. So you can go to jetexpress.jetreports.com. I have a little hyperlink here, so I'm just going to click on this and it'll take me in. So slowly but surely here, pull this up. All right, so when you get here, you just have to select your country. So we'll do US here, and then it'll take you to the appropriate resource center. And this is where you'll go literally to download the solution for support, anything like that. It's all going to be here. So make sure you can Google this. Otherwise, just jetexpress.jetreports.com. The first thing you're going to want to do if you haven't downloaded the product is just come here. Make sure you have the required software and that you meet all the requirements. And then you just want to download it, get it all installed. There are some how-to videos. So like I said, come here, get the product installed, and then definitely come and get the reports off the report library. So on this tab here, if I click it, it will allow you to download the Jet Reports report player, which is an awesome, basically visual interface that allows you to store all these different reports. Let me grab it real quick. I think I have it right here as well, so I can show you an example of it. All right, it should pop up. Okay, cool. So this is the report player. When you download it, you're going to get a ton of canned reports that our report analysts have already wrote and actually put into this file. So, like I said, come here, download these. Great way to get started. People like to use these right out of the box, and you can hook up to them and start running the reports. Otherwise, you can use them as a base template, modify them, things like that. So definitely come get these reports off of the Resource Center. If you want any more information about a report, you can hit this little flip icon once you download it. It'll tell you the data source it was built for, some of the details, things like that. So definitely, again, great resource. Come and get it. A lot of people download the product and then never actually go to the resource center and look through the stuff that's on there. So like I said, reports library tab. The next piece I want to show you is where you want to go if you need help with anything. So if you click on the online help tab, it'll take you in here. And I don't know why this is such a little known secret, but if you click right here on the PDF for under this link here, it's going to pull up I think it's 23 pages. What is it? 21 pages of resources for Jet Express. So it's got everything from installation to using the different formulas and things like that, all outlined for you here, and you can actually walk through them and read this. So, at the very least, come download a copy of this and just have it at your discretion in case you do get stuck, but there's definitely a lot here. So that just kind of builds upon the concept I was saying earlier, which you shouldn't feel lost. There's a lot of resources for this product. The last one I want to show you real quick before we actually start building some of these and take a deeper look is the community support site. So this is another really cool feature with Jet. There's the old saying that if you've had a question, somebody else has had or has the same question. So you can come down here and ask the community, and users will answer each other's questions. Occasionally, we'll have our support team go on there, answer some big questions. There's all types of things here. So just come look around, play around with it. If you have 15, 20 minutes once you download the product, and I guarantee it'll help you a lot. So, but that being said, let's take a look real quick at what some of these reports look like. So this is a report that I took directly out of the report player. It's just a sales team performance based on the customer card here. And I'm going to go ahead and set this to where's my correct data source? So I'm just choosing my data source right now. JetCorp Math. There we go. So what I would want to do as a user of Jet Express here, I'm looking at this report. It's pre-built. I've already got it all set up. I want to run and refresh this report and pull in the live data. I can come up here to the refresh button on my Jet Reports ribbon. And when I click that, it's going to bring up a list of what are essentially filters or report options. So the designer of this report basically said, okay, so the people that want to use this report can toggle between different dates. So I could change the date range, but I'm just going to keep it how it is, run the report, and it would go to my database, query it, and then update all the data. So you can see here now the data is up to date. It's pulled in everything live from my database, and again, all the visuals and numbers updated as well. So that's really the underlying concept behind Jet reports. It's basically, build these reports once, format them, get them looking how you want, and then just use them indefinitely by toggling between different filter parameters. So again, that's kind of the idea behind running and refreshing reports. But let's be honest, I'm sure we all want to see actually how to build some of these. So what I'm going to do is open up a blank workbook. All right, so again, this is just a blank workbook. Nothing here is Jet yet, but we're going to change that. So what I'm going to start with is showing you how to use the table builder feature for Jet Express. So let me open up my table builder. Oops, that's not what we wanted. All right, so I'm clicking on the table builder icon. And once you do that, it's going to open up this little interface. It's going to essentially allow you to kind of walk through how you want to build your report. And so what I'm going to do is start by clicking the Add Table button. So when I click this, it's going to pull up a list of all these different tables and fields. Now, before we get started and actually jump in here and kind of run with it, I do want to just give you a little background as far as what the table builder is for. So let me just pull up this presentation here. I'm just going to make me close that here. All right, so basically our definition of the table builder is it's a tool designed to pull data from one or more tables in NAV together directly in Excel in a way that enables meaningful formatting and graphing with pivot tables. So we're going to leverage a lot of the Excel functionality once we get the data in there, and we're going to use pivot tables to make it look like that last report you saw. But basically, it's a two-part process. So when you build the table builder, which I'll show you in a second, it's going to give you this kind of data dump where it's going to pull in all the data you requested with your formula that you set up. And then what you're going to do is use the pivot table functionality to actually make it look like a presentable report. So going back to our blank workbook here, I'm going to open up my table builder, and we're going to start with that first piece. So I'm going to add a table. So again, here's all the hundreds of tables that are in my NAV database. I'm going to just select, let's do my GL entry table. And the examples I have prepared today are going to kind of be centered around finance, but you can, like I said, you can do any ad hoc database queries you want, so it doesn't have to be finance. I just think these guys do a good job of kind of showcasing how to use the product and the functionality behind it. So I've pulled in my GL entry table, and once I do that, it's going to bring up a list of all the fields in that table. And what I'm going to do is just start by adding some fields. So the first thing that I'm going to add is, let's go ahead and do GL account number. Let's do entry number. And basically what I'm building for you is just a general ledger activity detail report. So we're going to see the activity that's been associated with each of my general ledger accounts, just to get an idea, and stay on top of that metric. So I've pulled in my GL account number, I've pulled in my entry number. I want to stop and just really pause and explain that entry number in this case is going to be what's called my primary key, or my unique key. So when you're using traditional reporting tools, you do need to have some basic knowledge of the database structure as far as the tables and fields go and how they relate to each other. In this case here, entry number is going to actually be a link that we're going to use to pull in another table as well. So the way that we link tables with traditional reporting tools is by essentially common fields. So as you can see in my GL entry table, I have this entry number, and the next table we link, we're also going to have entry number. So I'm going to say that entry number in this table equals entry number in this table, and that'll kind of bridge it all together. So let's go ahead and keep going. I'm going to go ahead and get my general posting type. And as you can see, it has the find as you type. Otherwise, you're welcome to just scroll, with the mouse wheel or up and down and find it individually. I'm going to grab my general posting type. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to link that second table. So I'm going to click on my GL entry table up here. And what I want to do is click Add Table. So always click on your primary table, click Add Table. Here we are again with that full list of tables here. And I'm going to pull in my GL account table. Okay. And now what I want to point out is that 85–90% of the time, Jet Express is actually smart enough to make the link on its own. So if you see here, it says link tables where number or entry number equals GL account number. Those are actually the same field or same piece of data. So it's going to link itself on its own. If you had to add a link, like if it didn't determine that, you just click add link. It's going to bring up the same type of thing. So you could say this field equals this field and just use the drop down. But like I said, in this case, it's already done it for us. So now I've pulled in my second table. I want to grab a couple fields out of here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get, let's do name. Let's do income and balance. All right, so those are the only two I want to pull in from that other table. Now I'm going to go back to my original table, my GL entry. So you got to make sure you click on that. And I'm just going to add a few more different things here. Let's do, right here, we'll do posting date. Okay, let's do document number. And in a second here, once I get the table builder all figured out, I'll show you what we're actually going to build. I have the finish report up as well, so I can show you what we're going to transform it into. Do description, debit amount, and credit amount. All right, so I pulled in a bunch of these different fields from two different tables. I want to point out to you up here on the top, these are not locked into the order you put them in. So if I wanted to move entry number over here in front of my GL account number, it's just a quick drag and drop. If I want to change the name, I can click on it there. Otherwise, we'll just move it back. Oops, let's move this here. So we'll put it back to how it was. But like I said, you can double click on there, change the names, you can drag them around. It's very flexible, so you're not locked in, based on the order you picked. And again, we're going to summarize this here in a pivot table soon, so we can make any changes we need to then as well. So the last thing I want to do is just add a quick filter. So if you remember when I showed you that sample report, when I hit refresh, it brought up an option for the user to toggle between different date ranges. So that's basically what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to click add filter, and I'm going to say where posting date. All right, so where posting date equals, and I'm just going to hard code in a range that I know has some data. I'm at the mercy of a sample database here, so I want to make sure I actually pull in some values. So let's see here. All right, so we put basically the month of, let's see, that's August there. So the month of August for 2013. And then this is the big key here. So if you want the user to be able to toggle between these date ranges, you have to check user defined. That's what's going to make it pop up in that box, that report options box when you hit refresh. So make sure you check user defined if you want the user to be able to toggle between the different criteria. So we'll say user defined. And now at this point, I've got everything I want. I'm going to click OK. So it's going to ask me if I want to save this as a template. That's actually a piece of Jet Essentials functionality, not Jet Express. So with Jet Express, you actually can't save these templates. So make sure you have everything the way you want. Otherwise, you will have to go back in and kind of rebuild the table builder piece. So as you can see here, it says Jet Essentials. Would you like to save this? I'm going to say no, just because, like I said, we're supposed to be using Jet Express. And what it's done is it's completely wrote this report for me. So all this kind of coding and background stuff has been done for you. All you had to do is fill out the visual piece with the table builder, and it's done everything else. So the report that I'm actually going to transform this into is this report here. So this is the GL activity detail report that we have. This is one of our sample reports, and you can see we utilize pivot tables and slicers. So I can slice and dice on a couple of my different accounts, or I can just slice and dice on one account individually. It's really up to you. And then I just want to point out that it does have the second page, which is where all the data was pulled in. So again, this is the data dump I referred to, and then we summarize this with a pivot table to make it look, something like this guy does here when we select a few of these. So make it look similar to this. So I'm just going to go back to the piece that we built. So again, everything's been done here. I'm just going to go ahead and refresh this report. All right, and so it's going to run, like I said, it's going to go into your database, query it, pull in all that data, and now you can see this should look very similar to that data dump I just showed you, because it's basically the exact same criteria and same data. So what we're going to do is we're going to transform this using the pivot table and actually make this look like a nice report. So what I'm going to do is just click in the top left cell. I'm going to go up to design, and I'm just going to say summarize with a pivot table. So click in the first cell, went to design, and said summarize with pivot table. It'll automatically basically encompass the full range. So as long as that looks good to you, you can click OK. All right, now here is our second piece of the report. So as you can see here, it's pulled in all those different fields I've selected into my fields list, and now it's just up to me to, essentially arrange them and get it all set up. So I'm going to select basically all of these fields. I'm going to leave out income balance, but I'm going to select all these others. And now it doesn't look too great, but that's okay because we're going to format it and clean everything up, and we're going to make it look like that other report. So like I said, when you're summarizing these with the pivot table, it's going to default to all these different ways. It's going to pull in everything. So you're going to have to, do a little formatting. But what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and drag general posting and journal batch. So I'm going to drag these up to some report filters. All right, so as you can see, it's adding these little report filters up here on the report, starting to look a little more like an actual, square report. And now these are defaulting to put them into the rows, but you can definitely drag them into columns, so you can have the labels up here if you prefer. It's very flexible. I mean, this is just basic pivot table functionality, and again, that's all Excel functionality. That's nothing that we're doing. But I'm going to come through here. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. So I'm going to go design. I'm going to go ahead and say do not show subtotals. We'll put grand totals on rows only. That puts them at the very bottom. Report layout, I'm going to put into tabular form. So, I mean, you can play with these and kind of see the way you like things to look, but this is just how I've found this report looks best, and this is all just Excel formatting. Let's go ahead and grab some color on here, and then I'm going to go ahead and take these entries and put actually the entry number as my first field here. All right, so this is starting to look a little bit better here. So I know that the spacing's off a little, so let me kind of pull things down so we can hopefully see it all on one page. All right, so this, like I said, this should start to look like a little bit more like that finished report I showed you. Now, one of the weird things about this is that it stores this as like sum of debit amount, sum of credit amount. If that bothers you like it does me, you can just come in here and go value field settings. I'm just going to change it to debit amount. All right, so there's debit amount. We'll say OK. And we'll do the same thing here for credit amount. All right, so I just think that looks a little cleaner. I mean, we already have the sum of values in our pivot table, so I don't think we need to say again that it's a sum. So we've got this looking a little bit better. Let's see if I can move this guy over just to give me a little bit of room. Come to Options, Move Pivot Table, and we'll just say move it right here. Say OK. All right, that gives us a little breathing room here. All right, and then the last thing I'm going to do is actually add a calculated field. So we have this debit amount and we have this credit amount, but what I want to do is actually get, my overall total here. So I'm going to come to Design, and I'm going to say, I'm sorry, Options, and I'm going to say, where's the button I'm looking for right here? Calculated field. Design. Oh, there we go. Fields, items, and sets. And I'm going to say calculated field. So I'm in here. We're going to do a calculated field, and we're going to call this, let's go ahead and do total. So this is our total. And what we're going to do the formula as is equal sign. And it's going to be, let's just get this out of here, equal sign. And we're doing credit amount minus debit amount. So credit amount minus debit amount. So again, this is a field that wasn't available basically in my database, and so I've just went ahead and calculated it. It put it as sum of total again, so I'm just going to fix that. Just say total. Okay. And now we should be looking very close, like I said, to this other report. So as you can see here, here's what we have. Let me click off the pivot table so you can see a little better. This is the report that we're building. So it's starting to look a lot like it. We're missing some slicers, our headers, a couple things like that. So let's go ahead and add those in. So we'll come back to our report. I'm going to insert a couple rows here. All right, let's do one more. And then we'll call this GL activity detail report. And we can say for the period of, and this is just kind of a cool little feature. So we say for the period of, and I can actually just do an equal sign here, come over to my report, and actually just select the date right here that we ran it for. So now every time we alter that or run it for a different date range, it's actually going to automatically show, oh, this is the new range you're looking at on your report. So the last thing I'm going to do is just bold this. We'll make this a little bit bigger. Same thing here. So again, this is just some formatting to make your report look a little nicer. Let's go ahead and increase this. So as you can see, it'll update that now. I am going to go to my view and take out the grid lines. All right, so it's getting better and better. And then the last thing I'm going to do is actually just come here and insert a slicer. So we'll say insert slicer. This is just Excel again here. And we'll do one for GL account number since we're looking at the GL activity detail. So when I put this slicer in, it's going to basically sit right here. Okay, and then if I can get on the right piece, we'll drag it across. And as you can see, doesn't look very good this way. It's got them all listed down, so I can't really see them all. I'm going to right click on it and go to size and properties. I'll just go to my position and layout, and I'm going to increase the number of columns. And as I do that, you'll see that it's going to kind of add more here. So I'm increasing how many it's going to show side by side. All right, so we got 13, so that should show all of them. And then the last thing I'm going to do is just come here under properties and say don't move or size with cells. So basically, if we slice and dice and things change, I don't want it to like move the slicer around and make everything get kind of weird looking. All right, so we've got our slicer. And that is all there is to it. So like I said, we've cleaned it up, we formatted it, made it look a little better, but you know, it's a two-part process with Jet Express. Like I said, you know, if you want to have a clean-looking report like this where you can slice and dice and see everything update, you know, you do have to basically summarize the data that it's going to pull in. Otherwise, if you're okay with the data looking like this, you could just use the table builder and go right away. It's completely up to you. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of the first piece I want to show. You know, like I said, we just built this the GL activity detail report, and mine should look very similar to what you see there, which is this guy here. So are there any questions on anything yet? Have we had any questions, John?
We have not had any questions as of yet, but again, don't forget to ask questions in the chat box down below if you have any questions or if you'd like to see something again or would like any other details about the functionality that you've seen so far.
All right, awesome. Well, if we got no questions, let's go ahead and keep moving along. The next piece I want to show is basically the consolidated income statement or balance sheet, I should say. So let me go ahead and open up this little template I've put together. Again, this is just there's no Jet in here yet. This is all just you know, Excel and a template that I've hard coded in just to save some time. So I'm going to grab my demo database here. And this is where I'm toggling between my data sources. So if you had different databases or things like that, you could just toggle between them right there. So what I'm going to show you now is our general ledger function. And let me just see here on this guy. So our general ledger function is basically meant to retrieve balances, budgets, debits, or credits based on these different criteria that you can see here. One of the reasons I really like the GL function is that it kind of walks you through what you can and can't do. So it's going to take you step by step through each of these boxes as you fill it out, and it's going to complete everything for you in the background again. Now, you'll have this little general ledger button. So if you remember, it was like table builder, JFX, and general ledger. That's what your little formula bar would look like. But in mine, I'm going to have to open it a little differently. But just remember, you would have that general ledger button on there. So let me go ahead and go back to my template. I think the best way to really explain this is to kind of walk you through it as I go about it. So I'm going to open up my GL function here. Okay, so I got my general ledger function for Dynamics NAV. Here is that box I just showed you, so it should look pretty familiar. And basically, you're just going to start going down. So I'm going to click down on what. It's going to say, okay, great, what do you want to retrieve with the function? So do I want to retrieve balance, budgets, credits, or debits? Well, I'm getting the balance for these two different companies and consolidating them. So I want to say, give me the balance. Then it's going to say, okay, great, what account do you want the balance for? So I could individually select accounts. I could use account ranges. I could use exclusions. I could use a wildcard operator and just return all my accounts. But I'm actually going to shortcut this. So I've picked the accounts that I want to see and listed them out. I'm actually just going to use cell referencing. So I'm saying, okay, great. So my first account I want the balance for is total sales of jobs. All right, so that's done. Then it's going to say, okay, what start date do you want? Again, you could use the calendar. You could hard code it in by hand. I'm just going to use the cell reference. All right. And then it's going to do the same thing for end date. It's going to say, okay, what end date do you want? Come up here and get it. If you just put a start date, it's going to give you the beginning balance. If you just put an end date, it's going to give you the ending balance. If you put both, it'll give you the net change over that period, and that's what I want in this case. Now it is going to automatically default to your global dimensions in your database. So in this sample database, it's global dimension 1 is department code and global dimension 2 is project code. However, it will also recognize any of those advanced views you might have or analysis views. So if I click on this view and I said customer, you'll see that it updated to area code, customer group code, as opposed to project and department. If I delete this, you'll see that they're going to revert back to the original default global dimensions. So in this case, they aren't too relevant. I'm going to skip over those, and I'm going to come down here to company. So I could do the drop down. I could select one of my sample companies in my sample database, but what I'm going to do again is just exploit this and use cell referencing. Now when I click OK, it's going to return my first value here. So we'll hit OK. All right, and then there is my first entry. So you can see we have, you know, let me back up. So one of the weird parts about NAV is that it stores sales numbers as negative numbers. If that bothers you like it does me when you're building these types of reports, you can just click on your first entry here and just throw a quick negative sign in front of the formula. That looks a little bit better. But like I said, this is calculated on a cell-by-cell basis. So as you can see, I just used my GL function. It just returned only the data in this cell, and then I carried it through with my sums. But I mean, it would be a kind of tedious to have to do that for each of these different cells and then add them all together. But since we've used relative and absolute cell referencing, I'm actually just going to take this and drag it across my worksheet. All right, and just like that, let me drag this over. For some reason, the auto sum didn't carry down on that side. Okay, so we got that all dragged over. So yeah, all I had to do was just click, drag this formula, and now it knows to point to this new company because I've used relative cell referencing. And then I'm going to come up here and just throw in my auto sum. All right, so just like that, we've added those together. Now, believe it or not, all I'm going to do is literally take this and drag it down my worksheet. So because we've used the relative and absolute cell referencing, it actually knows where to point for each of these cells, and I can carry it all the way through. We'll do it last time here. All right, so hopefully this looks pretty easy and not concerning. I mean, the only concerning thing should be that this person is hemorrhaging money, but other than that, it should look pretty easy and doable, and that's the point, and that's the goal. So, like I said, I mean, if you want to take the time to put together a nice template like this, and then just use the GL function, it's going to make your life a lot easier. So that is kind of the majority of what I wanted to show today as far as the Jet Express piece goes. We do have a few minutes, so I figure maybe we can spend 5-10 minutes looking at some of the advanced functionality and then wrap up if there's any questions. Otherwise, like I said, we'll get out of here a few minutes early. But I do just want to talk about some of the advanced reporting in BI that Jet offers. So we have our Jet Essentials and our Jet Enterprise products as well. So as you can see here, these are some of the things some of the reasons or needs you might have that might make you want to bump up to one of these products. The biggest thing on the enterprise side is going to be speed and consolidation. So, we're reporting from a data warehouse and cube environment with Jet Enterprise, which is our full business intelligence tool. So all of your analysis is going to be instantaneous. If you remember with the Jet Essentials piece, when I would refresh those reports, it'd take a couple seconds to run. Well, that's just going through a very small amount of data. I'm sorry, with the Jet Express piece, that's just going through a small amount of data in my sample database. But as your data increases, those times in running reports can add up. With Jet Enterprise, it's going to be instantaneous. With Jet Essentials, some of the benefits, obviously, and you do have all these with Jet Enterprise as well, but it's, you can use drag and drop to build your reports, which literally you just select some different fields and drag them onto the worksheet. It'll build everything for you right there. You have drill down into your database. So if you're looking at a number that looks skewed or inaccurate, or you just want more visibility, you can drill down by clicking the button up here, this drill down arrow, and that'll take you right into your NAV database and show you exactly what entries made up that number. And then lastly, one of the big pieces is the Jet Scheduler. This comes with the Essentials and Enterprise pieces, and basically it allows you to automate the running and distribution of your reports. So if I was to click New Task and pretend this is a report, I could give it a name. I could schedule how frequently I want it ran. So I could say, maybe it's a sales report I want ran every Friday at 4 o'clock. So I could say run it weekly on Friday at 4 p.m. So I could set that up. And then I can actually choose a list of email recipients in my company, so it will distribute the reports to, whoever I specify. Or I can have it come out on a different output, so I could say, send it to a web page, upload it as a PDF, a static Excel file, just a Jet workbook, whatever you want. And then if I was just to click schedule down here, it would add it to my list of reports, and those reports will literally run, refresh, and distribute on their own. So it's really this idea, like I said, with Jet reports, you format the report, get it looking how you want, and then use it indefinitely by toggling between the filter parameters. Well, we can actually take it a step further with the advanced products and make it to where you don't even have to run the reports anymore. It'll do that for you. So it can be completely hands-off if that's how you like it, but it's just really up to you. So let me close this. I do just want to show you real quick how you'd build a report with Jet Essentials, and then real quick how you'd build one with Jet Enterprise here. Let me just open up a new workbook. And actually, I'll go ahead and show you real quick. So this is the type of report that you might see with like Jet Essentials. It's a nice clean feel. This is a consolidated P&L by company. So we have our 4 different companies, their consolidated totals. And then we've actually broken them down on individual worksheets by global dimension 1, which is department. So you can see we've broken them all up by department here, and then their consolidated totals as well. So that's the idea, like I said, with Jet. Let me come in here and I'll show you too real quick what the drill down is like. So if I was to use this drill down button, it'll open up my NAV here. I can put in my credentials. And sure. And it's going to show me, like I said, all the different entries that make up that number. So it really gives you a ton of visibility into the data. And once you're in here, even through the drill down, I mean, you're in NAV. You have all the privileges you would normally have. It is going to honor all the security associated with your NAV database. So, I'm not going to be able to bypass and have access to the sales section if I don't normally have access to it. But that's what the drill down does. So as far as building a report with Jet Essentials, I only literally use the browser. I mean, this is like my favorite tool probably in the Jet Essentials suite. If you open this up, what it's going to do is it's going to auto-populate with a list of all the tables and fields within your NAV database, any custom tables and fields included. So, there's hundreds of these tables, thousands of fields. If, the average report writer uses about 10 to 15 tables, maybe 100 fields. So if you just want to see the ones you use on a regular basis, you can actually come and star them and then just click the favorites button, which is what I'm going to do here. So you can see those would pull up all my favorite tables to use. But I'm just going to go ahead and come over here and we'll search my customer table. So let me just go ahead and do customer. All right. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab a few different pieces. So I'm going to get the customer number, customer name. Let's get their state. Let's get their salesperson code. And let's get their sales. So I've grabbed about 5 of these different fields. Believe it or not, I'm literally going to take this and drop it on my worksheet. I'm completely done. Jet wrote the report for me. Everything's been done. All I have to do is refresh my report, and there's all the data I requested. Now, it doesn't look great, so I'm going to clean it up real quick, but that's just going to take a second. All these reports, you're going to need to use a little Excel functionality to make look better. So I'm going to just come in here. We'll go add some color here. All right, let's go ahead and get a subtotal down here. Put these in the right format. So again, this is just basic Excel stuff. I'm just formatting it, making it look a little cleaner. We'll take our grid lines out. And then what I'm going to do is just come in here and we will select these and make a quick visual piece. So I'll insert a little pie chart. And then what I've done here is I've pulled in the data, from my entire database, every entry that matches this criteria. So like I said, in my sample database, that may only be 100 rows here, but in your database, it could easily be, thousands or hundreds of thousands of entries. So what I'm going to do is come put a couple filters on my equation real quick. So I'm just going to click on this little hidden equation, and I'm going to open it up with my function wizard here on the Jet ribbon. And this is the manual piece. This is where you can come in and add things manually. So I'm just going to say, give me a filter for state. So I can use the find as I type again. And I'm going to say, only show me, let's do Oregon and Washington. All right. And then I'm going to put another filter for, let's do sales. So we'll do the find as we type. And I'm going to say, only show me sales entries that are greater than 15,000. So basically we've specified only show states that are Oregon and Washington and only show sales greater than 15,000 and we'll hit OK. When I click OK, you're going to see this first record update because it does not fit those criteria. All right. And now I can go to my jet ribbon again, refresh my report, and there it is. So I've pulled in the entries I want to see for Oregon, Washington, only sales greater than 15,000, and my visual piece here now has some context to it. So that is all there is to it with Jet Essentials and the browser. I mean, that's why I use it exclusively, is because all I have to do is just click some fields, drag them on the worksheet, and drop them. But yeah, that's the Jet Essentials piece. Um, Let me show you Jet Enterprise real quick, which is our full business intelligence solution, and then we can wrap up with any questions we may have, or like I said, get out of here a little early. So with Jet Enterprise, we do more of a dashboard feel. We do use pivot tables again with this tool a lot, but as you can see here, let me get my right data source again. All right, so you can see here, we have this visual piece, and then what we generally do is we break down the data further on these individual charts. So if you look at my different worksheets here, you can see that I have the data as far as the numerical values go, and then on the sales dashboard, we just consolidate everything all together. So this is just an example of a sales report. And what you can do with Jet Enterprise, like I said, is everything's going to update instantaneously because it's all calculated in the data warehouse and cube environment. So if you look here, if I click on North America, it's going to update my report instantly. If I click on just caps and hats, it'll update instantly just for, if I came over here and said, events only, everything's doing an instant update, and that's because we've already pre-calculated all of these values in the background. So with Jet Enterprise and the data warehouse and cubes, every possible combination of dimensions and values, or fields, is actually laid out, already calculated in a flat file format. So if you wanted to see something like sales by item, by region, by year, that analysis is actually sitting there in your data warehouse and cubes waiting to be viewed. So that's why I can use these slicers and have everything update instantly. If you wanted to go about building one of these reports, just open up a new blank workbook here. I would just come up to my jet ribbon and I'd go to pivot table. Now when I do that, it's going to ask me, okay, which one of these cubes do you want to use? We have a full pre-built set of cubes for NAV that cover about 85-90% of your reporting needs right out of the box that we've already done free of charge. So that's a pretty cool feature. These are some of the cubes we have, and I'm going to use my sales cube. And when I open this up, it's going to bring up the pivot table, which should look familiar because it's what we just used for Express as well. And then what I'm going to do is come over here and I'm going to select some measures and some dimensions. The measures are numerical values, so it's going to be anything you see here. And then the dimensions are all going to be the pieces that give those numbers some context or some meaning, basically. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my sales amount, my profit, and my profit percent. So as you're already seeing, right before your eyes, I'm just checking boxes and it's building the report for me. I mean, that is literally the difficulty with Enterprise. Thought so. Okay. Well, were there any questions or anything?
Hello, is anyone there?
There is one other caller on the call.
Can anyone hear me? Can anyone hear me now?